Welcome to the FanDuel Punch-Out. I'm Jason Gilbert, JGilbo11. With me is Nick Tasso at the Inefficient 2. Taking a look at a 9-game Sunday slate here on FanDuel. And pretty good mix of pitching up top, but we do have some pretty favorable offenses too.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was the first thing that struck out to me was so much pitching on this slate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got Max Scherzer, you got Jacob deGrom, and there's some other enticing options. So, Brewers and Reds. First one here: Zach Davies versus Dan Straley. This one, Brewers blew out the Reds yesterday, and overall, I mean, this series so far has been pretty high scoring as far as totals go, and I like both sides here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Staying far away from both these pitchers, but I like a lot of players on both lineups. I think Villar is kind of priced out of my range, but once you go past that, you got a lot of guys down low who are in a pretty good price tag in a good ballpark. Like Jay Bruce, he's only 3,300, and Duvall is only 3,000.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bruce at 3,300 is a nice price tag, and Duvall's been consistently priced down these last few days, and kind of been a chalky play. So I'm with you. I mean, I think 3.45. I even don't mind the Votto price tag at 3.6. You just look at Davies; he struggled a little bit with lefties this season. Obviously, Great American Ballpark is friendly for lefty power, so I like the Reds quite a bit. I like them a little bit more so than the Brewers, who are also in decent spots like Braun and Lucroy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at Scooter Gennett, his price is pretty down there as well. So if you're looking for a cheaper option at second base, wouldn't mind going with him against Straley.
Yeah, definitely don't agree or disagree with you there. Lucroy 3.3. I think he's one of my favorite catchers on the day. I know there's a lot of high-priced guys on the slate today. It's kind of off, but I think Lucroy is kind of my favorite over 3.3 or over 3K.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I always feel like FanDuel always prices down all the catchers compared to DraftKings. So I do feel like you could probably find someone else who would give you the same production, but 3,300 is really not a lot. So kind of go with them there.
Yeah, definitely. And as you mentioned, I mean, DraftKings catching price. David Ross was like 4,600 today.
Absolutely, it's crazy just the price differences, but it seems like it's only that at catchers. And yeah, there's a big difference on both sites at each position, but the catcher position just seems completely different every day.
Yeah, it definitely does. Royals Tigers next one here, and Michael Fulmer was the guy who I talked about in the DK pod, is the guy who I liked. I'm not necessarily using him on FanDuel just because there's some other guys in price ranges that I like a little bit more. But obviously, I mean, I'm not really looking to pick on him. I think he's a solid right-hander, and even with these Royals price tags, I'm not really looking to attack him.
Yeah, to be honest, this is one of the stay away games for me with Fulmer and the Kansas City Bats. I'm just not sure who's really going to show up because Fulmer has been good. But then again, it's Kansas City who could really hit him hard, and just one of those things I'm staying away. On the other side, I don't mind a couple of the Detroit Bats. You look at Cabrera, and he's priced low as well, and even Nick Castellanos. So, I mean, there is some opportunity here against Yordano Ventura.
Yeah, it definitely is. And Ventura's been so up and down this year, both from both sides of the plate, lefties and righties. And if you're looking to pay up behind the plate, I do like Victor Martinez at 3.7. But yeah, I mean, that Cabrera price is really nice on a slate like today.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Ventura is pretty up and down. So it's just one of those things. I'm not really too gung-ho playing them in cash games, but I think in GPPs they're definitely worth the merit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even Justin Upton kind of punt play. I mean, he's back 2,300. I mean, it's definitely worth a shot in GPPs. And as you mentioned, I feel like the Tigers are just kind of a GPP team these days, outside of maybe that perfect matchup for someone. But they're kind of hit or miss this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. You look at them and they have so many big strikeout games that have been thrown against them, and they can go quiet, but they still have that power there out of their good hitters. So it's just one of those things, not really safe for cash.
Yeah, definitely. Orioles and Rays, next one here. You got Jake Odorizzi versus Dylan Bundy. And Bundy's been a guy who has pitched out of the pen for most of the season. Probably still not a guy who's going to go completely deep into games, but a decent strikeout rate. I'm not really confident in this Rays team to kind of actually get to him. I think they could run into a little bit of trouble, and not enough prices here where it really catches my eye because they are sort of expensive, especially if you're looking at the top three.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Bundy, and he's a good pitcher, highly touted in the minors, and he's just not stretched out right now, so I really don't think he's worth really rostering even at the 5,500 price tag. He could get a lot of strikeouts, but at the same time, he might not go deep in the game. So if he only goes 5 innings and he only gets, say, 5 strikeouts, it's really not going to help you too much. So I'm kind of staying away from him, despite I do like him here in this matchup. And then, like you said, I mean, the bats for Tampa Bay is just not something I want to go for.
No, definitely not. And this game's kind of unappealing in general. I mean, the Tropicana field isn't really a great hitter's park. Jake Odorizzi, I mean, I do think there is some right-handed power that could happen here, like Jones and Machado and Trumbo, just because Odorizzi has been hit harder by right-handers and can be home run prone at times. So I think the Orioles, those three names for me are kind of worth a look in GPPs. Machado is probably the only one who's cash game playable.
Yeah, I agree with you. All those names pretty much every night are GPP worthy, and Machado's just been so consistent. So I like him in cash as well. I don't mind Trumbo in cash, but I just think his price is too high to kind of be chasing the long ball.
Yeah, definitely. Pirates Nationals, next one here. Chad Kuhl versus Max Scherzer. Obviously, Scherzer, great play today, going up against a Pirates team that really, I mean, if you look at their seasonal numbers, obviously they look decent against right-handers, but they really haven't been that great this year. And Scherzer, I mean, he's the strikeout rate king on this slate. So for me, I think you can definitely play him. But also, I think you do have kind of a decision to make because DeGrom is, over $1,000 cheaper. So taking on the Phillies, you could save some cash, get another bat in your lineup, and I don't have a problem with either.
Yeah, I agree with you there. You look at Scherzer, and I think if all prices were the same, I think I'd go with him. But 11.9 is kind of high to fit a pretty balanced lineup in there. But he's in a really good matchup here, and it is Pittsburgh. And yeah, their overall statistics look good, but individually, they're not having a good season. So I definitely would veer on the side of Scherzer here. And you look at the hitters, obviously Harper, Ramos, they're up there, but I think they're both still worth it in this matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And, keep an eye on Daniel Murphy. I think he's probably expected to be back in the lineup today. He would be another one who I'd definitely be enticing to kind of pay up for. He's been a monster against right-handed pitching. And I'm with you. I think those 3, 4, 5 hitters for me are definitely really, really guys who I'm looking to be a core in my lineups.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, I kind of like Ramos, even though he's at 4,000. I just think he's been so consistent this year. And like we said, catcher, you can really spend down if you want to, but I think you really will get good value, especially against Chad Cole.
Yeah, I think so too. And you look, I think because that price tag, his ownership should be a little bit lower as well.
No, absolutely. I agree with you there because, like we just said, a lot of 3K guys, so everyone's going to veer towards them instead of Ramos.
Yeah, definitely. Mets Phillies next one here, and I kind of like this Mets offense behind Jacob DeGrom. Obviously, DeGrom in a good spot here. I mean, he's my second favorite arm behind Scherzer today, and I just feel like those are probably the only two that I'm really looking at in cash games. And even in GPP. So I think you look at DeGrom and kind of plug him in if you need to kind of fit in maybe a more expensive stack, or maybe you're looking to get an extra bat or two.
Yeah, I don't mind DeGrom here. It's just the ballpark really isn't the best for him, but you're looking at that Philly lineup, and they really don't scare you too much. So I have no problems going with DeGrom.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as the Mets bats go, I really don't mind some of the value pieces here, and I think you might need a few of them just given, maybe how lineup construction goes with pitching. I really don't mind a Jose Reyes at 3-1 or an Asdrubal Cabrera. Granderson and Walker are a little bit overpriced for me, but I think the front two in that lineup could be intriguing against Eflin.
No, absolutely. I agree with you there. I kind of sort of like James only just because he's pretty cheap, but he's only been able to get singles, and he really doesn't do much other than that. So I kind of, like you said, like Jose Reyes and Asdrubal Cabrera to lead everything off.
Yeah, I think if Walker was maybe like a couple hundred cheaper, I'd give him a look, but 37 just seems a little bit steep.
No, I agree with you there. A lot of these prices are pretty high, especially you look at Wilmer Flores as well.
Yeah. Anyone on the Phillies, I mean, you're looking at maybe as a deep shot at maybe, takes DeGrom deep or.
Not really. The only one who I usually like to kind of target would be a Drupal Herrera, but it's just really not the good matchup for him.
Yeah, definitely agree with you. Rockies and Braves, John Gray versus Leo Tehran, and I actually like both sides of pitching here for GPPs. I think there's some upside on both sides. And you're looking at this game. I mean, there's no real clear cut winner. And you look at Gray. I mean, big strikeout rate. Um, you know, he's outside of cores. He's even pitched well inside of cores at times. So I kind of like both these pitchers, and I'm not really prone to taking any really hitters in this game.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. You look at Teheran, and he's been bad his past two games, so I think people are going to shy away from him, which really makes his ownership level be pretty low and kind of boosts his value up in GPPs. So I kind of like him there, but I agree with you. You look at Gray, and he's been pretty solid away from Coors Field. He's not the best, but he's still pretty serviceable, and his price tag isn't too high. So I kind of like him in this matchup. In Atlanta, as we all know, isn't that good of an offense, but they are one of those pesky teams that on random days will just kind of go off and destroy a starting pitcher.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look at this Rockies team, I mean, their strikeout rate jumps about 4% when they leave cores. So, and obviously that will. I mean, they become a bottom eight offense. So, I think that's where Tehran can kind of take advantage. And I do think the last two starts he's given up 10 earned between the two. Could be an issue. Maybe you're starting to see a little bit of a drop in production, but obviously that's kind of why the GPP risk is there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I really don't think he's going to give up 5 runs again. I mean, it is possible. Maybe he's getting a little tired mid-season, but he had the break, so hopefully he's ready to start pitching like he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if there was maybe one bat from that Colorado side, it would definitely probably be Carlos Gonzalez or even maybe a Charlie Blackman, just because we know Terrence had his troubles with lefties in the past. They might be the only two I take a shot on in turns, just because their price tags are kind of cheap.
Yeah, the only one I probably would do would just be Carlos Gonzalez, just because I think he's a little bit better hitter. And like you said, against lefties, Heron hasn't been too good, and 3,200 is extremely cheap for Carlos Gonzalez.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of the same thing on the other side is Freddie Freeman at 3-3. I think, you kind of just looking to maybe take the two best hitters in this game and kind of hope they hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Freddie Freeman, even though he has been pretty poor this year, still is one of those guys who can kind of find the long ball and get you those quick points.
Yeah, definitely. Indians and Twins next one here. Josh Tomlin versus Kyle Gibson, and I like this game quite a bit for offense, and I like it on both sides. For me, I mean, I kind of like the Twin side a little bit more just because of the prices. And you look at Tomlin, I mean, he's been super home run prone this season, especially of late. 2 starts against Minnesota, he's allowed 4 home runs and 6 earned. So for me, I like the Twins quite a bit. They're not quite cash game playable for me, but it's hard to not pass on guys like Sano and Dozier at those prices. And if a Vargas finds his way into a lineup, I'm all on it.
Yeah, I absolutely really like Carlos Santana in this matchup. I just think he's in a really great opportunity, and he's been hitting the ball really well. I also don't mind Kipnis and even Chisenhall. They're a little bit cheaper. But I agree with you. Some of the Minnesota bats are really nice price tag today. Even though I do kind of like Tomlin in this matchup, I just think his last start was kind of an aberration, and I think he's going to return to what he's usually done for most of the season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I've been waiting on the Tomlin regression train for quite some time this year already, and it's starting to finally come through. And I do like the Twins here. And as you mentioned, those Indians bats are in a really good spot. And Chisenhall just becomes a guy who I've been constantly plugging in because he's consistent. He's always seems to be just right in that cheap price tag range. And I even don't mind a Jose Ramirez at 3-1 if you need to spin down at third base.
No, I agree with you. There's a lot of value pretty much all throughout both teams here. It just depends on what you think the pitchers are going to do.
Yeah, definitely. And both guys, I mean, they've had some decent starts and they have shut down teams, but overall, I think Vegas here and is pretty accurate, and the run total should be pretty high.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Minnesota is it's not the best hitters park, but it's kind of in the middle, so there could be a lot of runs here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's better in the summertime when the weather warms up, becomes much more of a neutral park.
No, absolutely. And that's one thing that DFS players have to keep an eye on, especially this time of year going into August, is a lot of parks that are typically good pitchers parks might go a little bit more towards the mean this time of year.
Yeah, definitely. Marlins and Cardinals next one here. Michael Walker versus Adam Conley, and the Cardinals projected for over 4.5 runs. I'm not exactly sold on that. I know Adam Conley's obviously been up and down this year, but it's not like this Cardinals team is tremendous against lefties. They rank in the bottom 10, but I think this game is just a matter of which Adam Conley shows up. But obviously, I think you do got to like the right-handers in this lineup. The front four for me: Grichuk, Diaz, Holiday, Piscotty, even a Peralta. I don't mind, and kind of hope that bad Conley shows up to play today.
No, absolutely. I mean, Conley isn't really that bad of a pitcher, but you just never know what you're going to get with him. And with that reason is I really love the Diaz guy. I can never say his first name, but he's only 3,000 shortstop position. I mean, he's almost a plug and play for me on FanDuel, just so cheap at the really good position.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. He's my favorite shortstop, and at that price tag, it's really hard to pass up. And Grichuk's not a guy who usually handles lefties all that well, but he's in a good spot as far as opportunity hitting leadoff. I don't mind him, just given he's below 3K. I think he can be kind of a decent value.
No, I agree with you there. Anytime you got a guy that cheap, 2,800, who's leading off or hitting third or fourth, you definitely got to at least consider it.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got Piscotty right there. So, I mean, the Cardinals, because of their prices, are more intriguing to me here on FanDuel. DraftKings, they're priced up quite a bit. So, I definitely like them more so just because I think there's better points per dollar value.
No, absolutely. I agree with you. You look at DraftKings and Piscotty, I think, is in the 5,000s, and that's just crazy.
Yeah, definitely. They're all priced super high. So, as far as the Marlins go, Michael Walk has been better of late. Still hasn't really been a guy who I completely shy away from. I might take a look at Stanton at 3-8 just in tournaments, just to see if I can get that long ball. But outside of that, I mean, I'm not really too in favor of the Marlins offense.
No, I agree with you there. I'm not playing anyone in cash games. Probably might do a GPP kind of stack, but it's just not something that you really want to do in cash.
Yeah, definitely. Last game of the main slate here, we got the Rangers and Cubs, John Lackey versus Cole Hamels, and waiting on this total, I think they're kind of waiting on what the wind's going to do, and it could be blown out quite a bit. And for me, I actually kind of like this game as much more for offense, even with the name power of Cole Hamels and John Lackey. I like those Rangers prices, and you look at both these guys been kind of faltering of late. So I think the offenses could put on a big show here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this is going to be a very high scoring game. And you look at Cole Hamels, like you said, he has been pretty bad the last two starts. Both were against Minnesota. So it's kind of up in the air to see what he's going to do here. But Chicago Cubs are a little bit better offense than Minnesota. So I definitely think they're going to hit him hard here. Kind of same with John Lackey. To me, he's been up and down. He hasn't really been the best, but he's still a solid pitcher. It's just I think this Texas offense could really unload against him.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're getting them at pretty decent price tags. I mean, Odor at 3K, Beltry at 3.2, Desmond at 3.5. Those are, really solid values on today's slate. And obviously on the Cubs side, I think you got to look at Chris Bryant. I mean, I think even against Cole Hamels, these right-handers they have a lot of potential. And I think Bryant is among one of the top three guys for me that could just be one of the top hitters on the slate.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you there. I think he's literally one of my favorite plays. Most likely going to go deep against him. Just Cole Hamels gives a lot of home runs and friendly confines of Chicago. So I definitely like him here. I think it's a little crazy that on DraftKings he's the same price as Baez, but I don't know what they're doing in pricing.
Yeah, I mean, Baez has hit lefty as well. But yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. I mean, are those secondary pieces in play for you, like a Contreras, like a Baez at those prices?
At those prices, yes. On DraftKings, no. But FanDuel definitely are kind of in play here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you don't see either of these pitchers really working out at all in GPPs, I'm assuming.
Not really. I mean, I think if you had to take a chance, I'd probably go with Lackey, but I wouldn't have too much exposure of him.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, I think the focal point of pitching is really limited to about 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a weird 9-game slate where you kind of have those top guys and then it's just the rest.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.